Hello, beautiful ones. Welcome to the energy report for the week of July 15th to July 21st. Okay, so the energy of this week is a little bit different from the energy of last week. Last week was a very, very emotional, feeling-based week, according to the cards that came through. This week is going to be much more of a passion, action-oriented, social, connected, sort of frenetic energy, as we have two wands cards that have come through. So the first one is the 10 of Wands, and the 10 of any suit in the tarot is about like a culmination of energy. It's sort of like, the peak of a cycle, but it's not the end of a cycle. It's the peak. It's the peak energy. And so the wands, to me, every time I pull a wands card, the first thing that comes through is like social connections, collaboration, creativity, passion projects. It's like, it's the human being and the human doing all together. It's much less of the feeling realm, and it's like, what do we want to create? What do we want to do here? It's about projects. It's about creating relationships, like the synergy, the chemistry of relationships. It's about art, creativity, making our mark in the world. It's the doing principle. And so the 10 of Wands, what comes through to me in this context for the energy of this week is like, boy, oh boy, the momentum of this awakening and expansion and ascension has like really reached a tipping point. It is, the momentum is snowballing now. I want to say like the whole thing has a mind of its own, meaning like it almost has its own life force energy animating it. When I do readings I don't really do them very often anymore, but when I do tarot readings for individual people, often the 10 of Wands is talking about like reaching some point with a creative project where the project has grown so much that it has a life of its own. And it is no longer manageable in the way that it used to be managed. Like it needs to be like either you need to sell the business, or you need to expand and hire a team, whatever. It's grown to a point where it has its own needs. It's like an entity of its own. And I kind of feel that same energy and guidance applies to this, the momentum of this awakening. Like it is an entity of its own, not a dark entity, but just like it's got a life force of its own, a momentum of its own, a will of its own is maybe a better way to put it. Like so many people are getting activated at crazy levels, like people coming into my world spontaneously speaking light language. And it's not all because they're following me or they're listening to me or they're like, some of them is like, your light language transmissions activated something in me and now I'm speaking light language. But some people had no idea I was speaking light language. I just heard about a person just earlier today that I've never met before. And I heard about her through a mutual friend, and she is a scientist, and she just like had this dream, and this sort of like astral projection experience. And when she woke up from it, she was suddenly speaking light language. Like this is a thing that is happening for a lot of people. For some of us, it's not throat activations. It's not light language. It's more of like the remembering of our true identity, the remembering of who we are, or our alternative aspects. Somebody I was also speaking to yesterday, remember that she is a watcher, and there is an aspect of herself that is watching. I don't even know how to put it to truly like communicate the magnitude of this. There's literally an aspect of her that is watching, like in the Truman Show, watching this even though she is also alive within the Truman Show. I also have had people remembering that they have like archangelic oversoul origins, or people being able to connect with current real-time aspects of their Arcturian selves and being able to like connect with that landscape and that current lifetime right now. There are so many activations that are happening for people right now that it's like, it's a positive feedback mechanism. It's growing and growing and expanding and like triggering more. It's a domino effect. It's expanding exponentially. It's totally wild. And for us, it's like we're outgrowing or sort of the momentum of this awakening is outgrowing the structures that we previously used to manage it. It's outgrowing the strategies that we previously used to manage it. So also while we're receiving all these activations, we are additionally receiving like the guidance to change our lives to like harmonize with these activations. Like some people are getting messages that they need to like leave the place that they've lived for ages, uproot their relationship or their family or whatever, and move to a different part of the country. Or it could be as simple as leaving suburbia and moving to a like a piece of land, an acreage, and starting a homestead when that was never on their radar previously. And, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with like food shortages and shit like that. It's just like they're literally being called to the land. Some of us are becoming so hyper empathic and telepathic that we require different levels of boundaries to be able to mediate that information. It's like the texture of reality is becoming so thin. Like we're able to dial into the pixelated level of reality. So the illusion of physical density is kind of dissolving, and we're able to connect in with each other with so much more clarity, and yet our consciousness is still struggling to interpret this information and keep up with it, so that we kind of can feel like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Like your previous boundaries that you had up to like deal with being an empath in an intense world, those boundaries aren't really working anymore, and information is like still getting through your previous boundaries. And it's like we're having to learn new strategies in order to not just cope with this, but like integrate it and adapt with it, and adapt ourselves so that this is just who we are now, that we are highly empathic. And how do we deal with that? Previous coping strategies might have been unhealthy, but they worked, like drinking and doing drugs and watching shows in order to sort of like numb out and crowd out the information that's coming in. That just might not be working anymore. So like you can't get drunk enough. You cannot, like watch enough shows. You can't get high enough to crowd out that information anymore. Or maybe we previously had really healthy boundaries, and we just like were able to decipher like this information belongs to me, this information doesn't belong to me, and if it doesn't belong to me, like I don't have any responsibility for it, and that's enough. Knowing that is enough of a shield. And now it's like, whoa, but it's still coming in. Like we can't just deflect it in the same way. So I feel like, that is a whole entire rabbit hole on its own, and maybe something that I will talk about in the future, but like, this is an overwhelming time. If you feel overwhelmed, please be aware that it is not a sign that you're doing anything wrong. We are rapidly, rapidly ascending in our consciousness, and it's taking on a life of its own, and we are having to like rapidly morph our sense of identity to keep up with the changes we are experiencing in this ascension process, awakening ascension process. Okay, the next card is the 9 of Wands. And that is, to me, that this card is always talking about like what I was alluding to when we're faced with a sense of overwhelm and like too much is happening and we just like, we're so tired. We just want to stop. We just want to give up. We just want to break. The 9 of Wands is like, keep calm and carry on. Like keep going, dig down deeper into your inner reserves of strength. Tune inwards to become deeply centered in your inner reserves of personal soul power. And keep going. You're almost there. Just put one foot in front of the other. It's the laboring woman who is like 9 centimeters. She's in transition. She's almost at the point where she's going to be pushing her baby out. And she's like, I can't fucking do this anymore. Like, get me the goddamn epidural. Like, just make it stop. I can't do it. And yet, invariably, she always can. And she is doing it. Even as she cries and begs for a break, she is doing it. And it's just like one foot in front of the other. It just keep going, keep going, keep going. You're almost there. So when I tune into this, this message and the guidance around it for us collectively in the context of the energy of the upcoming week, what it feels like to me is that things might reach a bit of a fever pitch in terms of like a little bit of a burning intensity to this awakening. Even just today, I was trying to communicate with one of my clients, and I was like, so much information is coming through. I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to get it all out. It just feels like it keeps pouring in and pouring in and pouring in. And I kind of like had to like ask them to slow it down and like close my crown a little bit so that I could deal with, the information that had already come in. Rather than just having it continue to pour in at a rate that I can barely keep up with. It feels a little bit like that. Like all of us are going through that kind of energy ourselves on some level or another. And it's related to the awakening. It's related to the ascension and expansion of our consciousness and the changes that creates in our lives, the ripple effect it has as we're trying to figure out like, okay, where do we fit now? And, change with the times. And it's just like, oh God, just slow down. Like it's friggin' summer. It's July, fuck. Like I just want to chill out. I just want to go to the damn beach or like do whatever my summer activities are, like whatever it is. But it's that like feeling like, oh, just give me a break. Like I just need a week at the cottage. I need to just, whew. And we're not getting that break this week. And like, even if this is your week that you've scheduled your holiday to go camping or go for your week at the cottage or whatever your holiday is, it feels like the energy of awakening and the constant influx and impouring of information or like the changes, the mind-blowing things that you're going to be experiencing in your internal perception, those things are not going to relent this week. They just aren't. It's a week where a lot is coming in. And so let's just be here for it. Just tune in, like I said, like dig deep to your energy reserves and tune into your power center internally. Take some deep breaths, like center yourself, and then keep taking one step after the other. You're almost there. We're almost going to get an integration break. The final card is the Empress card. And this is a major arcana card. So this is a really big energy, and it reads to me as overall guidance of like what we are moving into and how to harness this energy and everything that we're experiencing right now. So the Empress is like the embodied physical divine feminine. That is how I interpret the energy of this card. It's like, whereas the High Priestess is sort of like, she does not have to be in a human body, the High Priestess energy. She is kind of just like the mystery, the void. The Empress is the physical embodiment in a physical realm of that divine feminine energy. And it includes the mystery and the void. And the guidance that I'm getting is like, we are being called to tap into a divine feminine, like creatrix energy. And this includes everyone, whether you are a man or a woman by, the body that you were born into, whether you're a man or a woman is how you identify. It makes no difference. We're all being called to tap into this divine feminine creatrix energy, or creatress, however you prefer to put it. Which is like the birthing of new timelines. It really is a summoning again to acknowledge that we are creators. We are creators. We are not reactors, okay? We have behaved as reactors. We have behaved as predictable reactors to the programming set in front of us that is designed to elicit specific responses and to captivate our attention, and so that we unconsciously create a reality that is not a genuine, authentic byproduct of our true desires, but is a reactionary byproduct of the things that we've been programmed to respond to. And we are being continuously reminded right now that like you can keep playing in that old paradigm if you want and keep reacting to the external stimulus of the holographic matrix of this beautiful simulation. Or you can like read the code of the actual simulation and remember that you're a fucking creator being and that you have access to higher dimensions. And the way it's coming through is like right now, the way that is being shown, like when I say divine feminine creator being, I mean it that it's like it involves very little action. The divine feminine aspect of creation is like dreaming it up. She is the visionary. The Empress is the visionary. She taps into the vision of the highest timelines available. All the elements, the highest potential of all of the raw materials that are available in a given moment. And she dreams it into being. She imagines it. And then the next step is to hand it off to the divine masculine in the form of the Emperor, who then takes those visions and gets to work like building them. They are the perfect team. And so the guidance for us this week is to take the raw materials of all the discomfort and the activations that we're having that aren't bad. They just feel like, oh, it's too much. Like, how can I be a human? How can I keep humaning? Like, how can I handle the 3D things while all this stuff is flowing in? Or how can I handle all the 3D things that are being thrown at me and like receive the buried activations within them? How can I navigate all the things that are being triggered for me? It's like we take all of that and we harness it and we use it as like fuel and fertilizer to dream up the dream of the highest timeline, the highest, like no limits, you guys. What is the highest timeline for you? And don't worry about creating the highest timeline for other people. Of course, when you're creating your highest timeline, other people will be part of it. Like my highest timeline obviously involves my kids and it involves my partner, but I don't need to make them fit into it. It's just like, in this step, we're not worrying about the logistics of how that's all going to work. Like when you're imagining your highest timeline and you're like, holy shit, my highest timeline is to move to Hawaii. And then your brain is like, oh, but how? But like my husband has a job, a really good job here. And we live in Maryland, and like, how could I ever, move to Hawaii? Like he would never go for that and that kind of thing. Like that is not the highest timeline. All of that discussion, leave that behind. It is not our job at this point. Like with the Empress energy, it's not to figure out the logistics. That is what the Emperor does. The Empress phase of things is to tap into that highest timeline and let it reveal itself to you. Do not push it away. Do not logic it away. Don't shut it down or shut yourself down from receiving it by saying like, oh, I could never do that, or like, that's impossible, or, it's just like, be with it. Let it fill your psyche. Let it fill your aura and your energy field. Let it reveal itself to you in as much detail as it wants to. I challenge you to expand yourself and become so receptive, so soft and melty, and kind of like a vessel, like shape yourself like a vessel to receive this whole vision without contriving it, without forcing it. Just receive it. And then just hold it. And I don't know what the next steps are, because that will be revealed in the energy report for next week. And maybe we're just supposed to hold the vision for a while. It's like, again, to bring it back to the analogy of like, the human reproductive process. It's like, whether you're a man or a woman, you can receive these visions. You have a divine feminine aspect that reveals the highest timeline to you, the dreams, the most beautiful dream, beyond your wildest human imaginings. And then you need to hold it like the womb. You need to, it might need to gestate for a while, or it might be ready to birth into fruition right away. It's not for me to say what your highest timeline trajectory is, but you hold it in your being, in your body, in your field, wherever it feels natural for you to hold it. But it's like gestating it in a womb, like in a safe space where it can mature. Until it's ready to be birthed into creation. Okay. This was a bit of a long energy report. I went off on one. It was a good energy report though. I feel I'm excited about it. I can do it. I can face this burning intense energy of accelerated activations and awakening, and I can find my center within it and just keep going. And I can tap into that highest timeline vision and hold it. We've got this, fam. Okay. Let me see if a light language transmission wants to come through. And of course it does. Ke hi aru I hintua ate u. I whanauate I ar ki atra I niriati iri chinio ita. I whirio tirio I intra I ka. I suntio te. Ura te ir fatuan iriata al si afanate iriati irfa ti alawan si intriate or te irioci al e fanto asi e ha. All right, my beautiful friends, whom I love and adore. Okay, what do I have to tell you about? Let's see. 12/12 just started. It is epic. I'm so excited about it. There are still spaces available if you want to join. If you want to be in on the most out there conversations that I have, the most advanced, if you want to be among the first receivers of the complete, like unedited, intense transmissions that I am receiving right now about the nature of reality and what we are supposed to do and how to embody that highest level of consciousness, then please send me a message to, just find out about the details and connect and let me know about yourself. And I would love to have you join. And then the other things that are coming through are creation codes. Just feels, it's not starting until September, but you can get on a proactive payment plan right now if you desire. But it feels really relevant to this reading because of that Empress energy. And creation codes is about a process that was downloaded to me about the creation of entire new timelines. And like the seed level creation, encoding it into your holographic field so that it has there's no way that it won't grow. There's no way that it won't come to fruition because you have it encoded in your entire field. And it is also about the dissolving and deconstructing and sort of resolving a bunch of alvings of old timelines. So that is happening in September. But as I said, if you're listening to this message and you feel called to it, there's already there's going to be a link in the description and that it's already up on my website. You can go and check it out. And I'm just going to leave it there for now. I love you all so much. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for what's happening and what is coming. Thank you for being in my field. I feel you. We are interacting with each other. Even if it feels indirect, it is real. I sense you there. I feel you there. I'm constantly tuning into all of you. And I know that these messages that I pull through are for you to receive. So thank you for being here and receiving them. Much love. Have an amazing week. Namaste, my friends.